And so I want to welcome you again to our community and welcome you to this consciousness and this awareness. Here we are today, November the 1st. We have 5 Sundays this month. Yahoo, we get to be together 5 times. And we have an opportunity to now have a new theme. So let's take a look at our new theme for the month. Our theme for the month of November is living as compassionate conduits. And we had a team that pretty much wrote the outline for us in which we follow, and then each minister who speaks gets an opportunity to really make this their own. This week, we're going to look at the divine authority to choose. Divine authority to choose. And with this theme this week, it says, often people speak of God's will as if the old anthropomorphic deity is still the one guiding, choosing, and leading you, when in truth, it is saying yes to each of your choices. Take that in for a moment. You know, our philosophy does not teach that we are praying to a quote unquote deity, a Santa Claus, if you will, who's checking to see if we're good or bad. Instead, what we know is that there's a power, a presence, a life, an energetic, and it has created everything out of itself. Now, God is quite a personal thing. And so for many of us, many folks still do believe that God is a deity up in the sky, taking notes, that we have to please this power and this presence. And if that is what you believe, God is to you what you believe, and you are welcome here. So let's just make that really, really clear, that even those beliefs are welcomed here. Why? Because God is so much bigger than anything we can imagine with our finite brain. And so God is to each of us as we believe. And as we believe, it is done unto us as we believe. And so I was really not taken back, but I was really moved. I was taken back because it kind of took my breath for a moment, and it was like, what does this really mean? And it's the quote by Charles Barker that was pointed out for us today. And that Raymond Charles Barker, that quote is this, and this is where I want to really, really bring our consciousness and awareness to. Raymond Charles Barker, in The Power of Decision, says this, and I quote, "All intelligence abides in your subconscious and awaits your call upon it. All intelligence abides in your subconscious and awaits your call upon it. You may say you do not know what to do, but at the center of your mind is the clear decision that you should make. It's right there." Now, I was taken aback by this because in so many of our teachings and growing up, so many of us have been taught not to trust ourselves, not to listen to that still small voice. So many of us second guess ourselves. And then when we second guess ourselves and don't make the decision that is the best and the highest decision for ourselves, we begin to create this idea that I cannot trust myself. And then we turn our will and our lives over to the care of other people. We turn our will and our lives over to the care of other people. What should I do? Oh, I have this situation. What should I do? Or I don't know what to do. What would you do? And for the most part, it's always wonderful to have people that we trust in our lives that we can turn to kind of get some feedback, to use as a sounding board. But at every moment, you are at choice. In each and every moment, you have an opportunity to make a decision. And you get to choose to speak or not to speak up or not to speak up, to be silent or to be vocal. You have a choice to move or not to move. You have a choice not to choose. And that in itself is a choice. We are always at choice. And we're always at choice because right where we are, this power, this presence, this infinite intelligence is. And it is always creating out of itself. And it is the same for us. God, this infinite intelligence, and when I say God, I use God as this placeholder, like I would man or woman or person. It's the placeholder, right? And so when I say God, I'm talking about this infinite intelligence, infinite spirit that has created everything out of itself. Therefore, its creation is the thing itself. And the way that it lives is the way that we live in human form. Now, of course, we have the limitations of the body. But just as spirit creates, just as infinite intelligence creates, we create as well. And we create with the power of our choice, with our actions. So in each and every moment, we have the choice and we are choosing to create, just like we've created this community. When I take a look around and I see who's hanging out with us, who's tuning in, who's commenting on Facebook, who's in the chat, we are at choice each and every time. But yet, some of us have fallen prey to society and society's thinking and way of interacting. And some of us think that we are no longer at choice. And that is hogwash. You are always at choice. In each and every moment, am I going to eat this cookie right now? Am I going to eat this chocolate bar right now? Or am I going to make a healthy choice and juice some kale and lemons and apples and some greens? Am I going to make a healthy choice? Am I going to go out, right, Nancy? Am I going to go out and do something destructive, or am I going to go out and do something productive and loving and kind? When we choose compassion, when we choose love, that is a choice. And choosing love and choosing compassion, choosing kindness is not always the easiest thing to do. What we have, though, today is we have a choice as well. And we get to choose to either remember the truth of who we are, or we can choose to forget and live a life of default. It's up to you. Now, I don't know about you, but when I choose to remember my spiritual identity, wow, I love my life. When I remember, when I make the conscious choice to pause and do some mindfulness, or to pause and see the goodness, or see the humanity, or see the divinity in my neighbors, in my friends, in my family, in people who are supporting other candidates that I may not necessarily support. Even when people are being ugly in their actions and behaviors, when I make that conscious choice to pause and recognize that right where they are, that is the life of God making a choice. Sometimes I may not agree with that choice that that life of God is making, but I still get to choose. When I remember my spiritual identity by pausing and meditating and being mindful and making great decisions for my life, because as I am making decisions about my life, it can only be the best decision for all life. Now, it's interesting because we can cultivate within ourselves an awareness of our choices. I'll say that again. We can cultivate within ourselves an awareness of our choices, but it takes cultivation. It takes making conscious decisions. It takes us really no longer falling for the okie doke. It means that we can no longer settle for mediocrity. It means no more self-betrayal. No more self-betrayal by eating that cookie, that chocolate, by saying, oh, I woke up late, I'm not going to meditate, I got to go. By not pausing and taking care of the physical body that we've been gifted for however many years we have it. We can make a choice and a decision now to cultivate an awareness of our choices. What am I choosing? And how is it that my choices influence the whole? How are my choices influencing the whole? You know, I get to be married, right? And I get to be in this loving relationship. And I get to be reminded from time to time that sometimes the choices that I make are quite just me, and not necessarily us, or we. Like sometimes the decisions and choices I make just benefit me and not necessarily the us, the we. And it takes time. It takes time to develop and not come from that place of selfishness and self-centeredness and self-seeking, to actually ask myself the question, is this just for me, or does this actually then also benefit the greater good? Because our choices matter. Our decisions matter. Now, over the last several weeks, in our talks, in our actions, I can't say that we've avoided the conversation around politics and around choosing. But I also kind of figured that if some of you are watching the news or talking with your neighbors, that you've probably been overly bombarded with a lot of the media and a lot of the politics. And in spiritual community, we are about health and wholeness. We are about value. And yet, in our society, we have an opportunity to make choices as to who we want in our elected positions. What I constantly say year after year when it comes to this time of year is vote your values. What are our values? What do we value? Honor, respect, love, love of humanity, civility, decency. Those things that we value, we get to make a choice as to which candidates, which propositions most suit our values. And though many of us have already casted our vote, it's so important to honor that you had a choice and that you make decisions, and that each and every decision and choice that we make it with one another in mind, with our community in mind, with love in our hearts. And that as we make that choice, as we fill in that little circle or punch the dot or whatever it is that we do, that we pray about our choices first, that we honor and we look at our values and we check out what is most in alignment with our values, and that we use our voice and that we use our power of choice in a way that moves humanity towards awakening to its spiritual magnificence. And I must tell you that sometimes the choices that we make, sometimes they show us just the opposite so that we might awaken to our spiritual magnificence. And so sometimes it is just important for us to be in our own spiritual practice, in our own alignment with the one. I'll tell you this quick story. And it's about a parent and a child. And the child is asking its parent, hey, is God big or small? And so the parent, not knowing what to say, just kind of took a moment as there was a plane, an airplane flying in the sky, way, way far up. And the parent said to the child, is that airplane big or small? And the little kid looks up and sees this little itty bitty plane up there in the sky and says, that airplane is small. And so the parents said, okay, let's go. And they jump in the car and they drive to the nearest airport. And as they get to the airport, and they're right there next to this big Boeing 747, the parent says, is that airplane big or small? And of course, the child says, it's big. And the parent says, well, that's the way it is with God, beloved. The closer we are to God, the bigger God is. You know, we might think that our choices don't matter, but they actually really do. And the closer we are in our conscious connection, because recognize that right where you are, God is. But sometimes God might feel so far away, like that plane way, way up in the sky, because we're not making that conscious connection. Because we're not remembering the truth of who we are, that right where we are, this power and this presence, this life force is. But the closer I am, the more involved I am in my spiritual practice on a daily basis, that big plane, that bigness, that allness that God is super present. And then it is from that place of bigness, it is from that place of power that I choose. Would you rather choose from a little place, or would you rather choose from the allness of who you are? All intelligence abides in your subconscious. And it's just waiting for you to call upon it. Make the best choice of your life today and choose to recognize this indwelling power and presence that is your life. Hang out there, feel the oneness, know that you're one with this power and presence. And then, beloveds, choose from there. Let's take a minute to go into just a small practice. And sometimes we just get so bogged down with our social identities. I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm black, I'm white, I'm male, I'm female, I'm neither, I'm both. I live in this area, I live in that area, this religion or that religion. Whatever it is, those human identities, whatever our driver's license or ID cards say, we get caught up as if that's our life. And so recognize and pull out right now your spiritual identity card. Where is your spiritual ID? Your spiritual ID says that right where you are, God is, the power, the presence, the love, the abundance, the peace, the joy. Woo, the wisdom. That is who you really are, that life force, that which animates your body. That is who you are. And so we make decisions from here. We live from here, recognizing that we are divinely human, that the allness, that infinite intelligence is right where we are. And we get to experience it in the human form. Our spiritual ID and our human ID. And from that balanced place, we get to choose. And so today we choose love. We choose peace. We choose faith. We choose power. We choose glory. We choose kindness. We choose compassion. We choose love. Especially now, we choose love. So for this and so much more, I give thanks. I let it be so. And we say together, and so it is. You are in very powerful positions, beloved. The positions to choose. Choose wisely. Choose from love. I certainly am making that conscious effort today. I love you dearly.